For 25 years, Sarah Mitchell had worked at the same library. Nobody had ever heard her speak a word. She simply organized books, smiled at students, and did her job in complete silence. But during the terrorist attack on downtown, everyone learned who Sarah Mitchell really was. And that night, the people who finally understood why she had been so silent experienced the shock of their lives. Welcome to Hidden Warriors. Tell me in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. The downtown public library stood on 5th and Madison, a massive brick building serving the community for 60 years. Sarah Mitchell had been its head librarian for 25 years, arriving at 7 a.m. and leaving at 6 p.m. with quiet precision. Students at Jefferson University loved her. She guided them to research materials with hand gestures and handwritten notes. Parents brought children for story time, where Sarah used props instead of reading aloud. Library staff respected her completely. She communicated through notes, emails, and sign language. But there were things about Sarah that colleagues never questioned. Why she always wore long sleeves, why she positioned her desk to see all entrances, why she instantly recognized suspicious behavior. Her apartment was equally unremarkable, a modest one-bedroom 6 blocks away. No family photos, no memorabilia, just books and a small herb garden. Neighbors considered her friendly but private. What they didn't know was that Sarah Mitchell wasn't actually mute. She had chosen silence 25 years ago, burying a voice that once commanded attention in the world's most dangerous rooms. The same voice that interrogated enemy agents, coordinated international operations, and briefed presidents on national security. Sarah Mitchell had once been Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Chen, one of the most effective military intelligence officers in U.S. Army history. She had run deep cover operations in 12 countries, spoke 7 languages fluently, and possessed photographic memory for analyzing threat patterns. The transformation from Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Chen to Librarian Sarah Mitchell had been carefully orchestrated witness protection for intelligence officers whose covers were blown. In 2003, Sarah had been running a joint CIA-Army operation to infiltrate a terrorist network planning embassy attacks across Eastern Europe. The operation was perfect until a double agent identified her. Within hours, her cover was destroyed, contacts were executed, and enemy operatives hunted her across 3 countries. She escaped, but not before witnessing 12 deaths of people who trusted her. The guilt was overwhelming, but worse was knowing her face, voice, entire identity had been compromised. The enemy had recordings, photographs, detailed intelligence about her methods. The Army gave her 2 choices: new identity and disappear forever, or spend life in protected military facilities. Sarah chose the first, with one additional requirement. She would never speak again. Her voice had betrayed the operation, led to those deaths. So Sarah Chen's voice would die with her old identity. The process took 2 years. Facial reconstruction surgery, new fingerprints through controlled scarring, fabricated personal history. Library science degree from a university with no attendance record, but computers showed honors graduation. But while Sarah Mitchell worked quietly, Sarah Chen's skills never faded. She read intelligence reports online, analyzed global threats mentally, maintained situational awareness most civilians couldn't comprehend. She told herself it was intellectual curiosity. The truth was, she was still watching, still protecting, still serving differently. When you've spent 15 years stopping national security threats, those instincts don't disappear with a name change. Sarah first noticed the pattern on a Tuesday in early October. 3 men, Middle Eastern appearance, visiting separately but interested in identical materials, city infrastructure maps, downtown building schematics, public transportation schedules. Each spent exactly 45 minutes, made careful notes, left without checking anything out. Most librarians would see 3 patrons researching urban planning. Sarah saw coordinated reconnaissance. Her training kicked in automatically. She memorized faces, noted clothing, tracked movement patterns. When the first man visited Tuesday, she overheard his Arabic phone conversation discussing timeline adjustments and final preparations. The second man arrived Wednesday, requesting same materials but different order. He spoke accentless English, but body language told Sarah he was military trained. When unobserved, he photographed specific schematic pages rather than taking notes. The third man came Thursday. Younger, nervous, clearly inexperienced. He studied emergency evacuation routes for downtown business district and public gathering spaces. When leaving, he forgot to sign out properly. A first operational assignment mistake. That evening, Sarah broke her rules. She accessed databases untouched for 20 years, using memorized credentials never expected to use again. Terrorist watch lists confirmed suspicions. All 3 men connected to a cell intelligence agencies had tracked for months, but plans and timeline remained unknown. Sarah spent the night analyzing their reviewed materials, cross-referencing interests with current events and public schedules. The pattern became clear. They planned something for the weekend's annual fall festival, bringing 50,000 people downtown. She had 48 hours to stop an attack potentially killing hundreds or thousands. But Sarah Mitchell was just a mute librarian with no authority, credentials, or way to contact agencies without revealing her buried identity. Sarah knew calling law enforcement directly was useless. She had no court-worthy evidence, no official standing for credibility. A mute librarian reporting suspected terrorists based on reading materials would be dismissed as paranoid speculation. But Sarah knew somewhere in the city were intelligence officers who would recognize her analysis quality if reached through right channels. The challenge was making contact without compromising 25 years of protected identity. Friday evening, she created a comprehensive intelligence brief using skills unused since 2003. Every detail documented: forensic quality facial descriptions, behavioral analysis revealing training and psychological profiles, timeline projections based on studied materials. She cross-referenced research with public events, infrastructure vulnerabilities, historical attack patterns. The brief was professional, detailed, demonstrating analytical sophistication no civilian should possess. Anyone reading it would immediately understand preparation by someone with extensive counterterrorism experience. She printed the brief on untraceable paper using cash-purchased printer destroyed immediately afterward. Hand-delivered to 3 locations: local FBI field office, police Homeland Security unit, and defense contractor employing former intelligence officers. But passive intelligence sharing might not suffice. If authorities didn't take her warning seriously or couldn't locate terrorists in time, thousands would die at Fall Festival. She had sworn never to speak again, never risk exposure, never become Sarah Chen again. Saturday morning, as first festival goers arrived downtown, Sarah positioned herself at a coffee shop with clear sight lines to main festival entrance. She carried items untouched for 25 years: tactical radio tuned to law enforcement frequencies, lockpicks for most commercial doors, ceramic knife avoiding metal detectors. At 2:15 p.m., she spotted the first terrorist moving through crowd toward a position matching her analysis perfectly. Authorities either hadn't received her warning or hadn't acted quickly enough. Sarah moved through festival crowds with invisible precision of someone trained to track and neutralize populated area threats. She located all 3 terrorists within minutes, confirming coordinated attack positioning for maximum casualties. The first terrorist approached main stage where children's choir performed. Sarah intercepted him near sound equipment, using pressure point technique, rendering him unconscious in seconds. She zip-tied his hands with vendor booth materials and left him behind equipment trailer for security discovery. The second terrorist moved toward food court, carrying backpack Sarah's analysis indicated contained primary explosive device. She followed him into crowd, waited for perfect moment, then did something she hadn't done in 25 years. She spoke. "Federal agent," she said quietly, her voice carrying unmistakable authority of someone accustomed to instant obedience. "You are under arrest." The terrorist spun around, reaching for detonator, but Sarah anticipated the movement. Her hand was already on his wrist, applying numbing pressure. The detonator clattered down as she guided him away from crowd, with techniques appearing like friendly conversation. The third terrorist, young and inexperienced, panicked when partners disappeared. He abandoned position, running toward festival exit, pushing through families. Sarah couldn't pursue without causing scene terrifying hundreds, so she whistled. A single piercing note cutting through festival noise, freezing the running terrorist. Not from sound itself, but what it represented. Someone with confidence and authority to command crisis attention. The terrorist turned and found himself looking directly at Sarah Mitchell 40 feet away. For one moment their eyes met, and he saw something making him understand exactly what kind of person he faced. He surrendered immediately, sitting with hands visible until security reached him. By the time law enforcement secured all 3 suspects and confirmed bomb threat neutralization, Sarah had disappeared into crowd. She returned to her apartment, destroyed involvement evidence, and returned to library Monday morning as if nothing happened. The festival attack never made national news because it never occurred. 3 terrorists were arrested on weapons charges, planning materials confiscated, network quietly dismantled. 50,000 festival attendees never knew how close they came to tragedy. Sarah Mitchell returned to silent routine, organizing books and helping students with quiet efficiency. But occasionally, patrons noticed something different. Confidence in movements, awareness in eyes, subtle presence of someone who faced real danger and emerged victorious. Some people serve their country in uniform, with medals and recognition. Others serve in complete silence, protecting communities that will never know their names. Sarah Mitchell chose silence not as escape from duty, but as a different way of fulfilling it. Have you ever met someone who seemed ordinary, but carried unexpected strength? Share their story in the comments. Subscribe to Hidden Warriors for more stories of everyday heroes whose service remains hidden. Some protectors wear badges, others organize books, but they all stand ready when their communities need them most. Chat controls, Sonnet 4 Smart.